All right, 9 a.m. on the dot. Let's get to today's burst of innovation. So today I got something a little bit different for you from last week, which was a lot of exercises. What I want to do to start this week off is actually give you some things to really think about. As I mentioned, I did a lot of reflecting over this weekend and was kind of thinking about, what is it that we're in, what situation we're in. And then I heard someone say, in an online class that I was taking, we either repeat or we evolve. And we've got to pick one or the other. And I thought that was really powerful. And it got me thinking about Mother Nature and how Mother Nature, you're either growing or you're dying. You're in one of those two stages. You're never standing still. Nothing in nature, nothing living, whether it's a tree, a weed, us as humans, we're never standing still. It may feel like it at times, but we're either growing or we're dying. And I think that's very true of the situation that we're in. So what I wanted to do today is actually give you some lessons from Mother Nature, in a way to think things through a little bit differently, in a way to tackle the week a little bit differently, maybe with a new lens or a new perspective. Mother Nature has so many incredible lessons for us. I think we're in the middle of one right now. And I think that she has a lot to teach us. So I wanted to bring that to our 10-minute call today and kind of set us up for not just a successful week, but just success moving forward. As you know, I love interaction. So if you have a thought that pops into your head while I'm talking about these lessons, I want you to put it into the chat bar. I think we can all learn and share from each other. So if you've got something that like, oh, that makes me think about this, the chat bar is the best place to put it so that we can all see it, we can all benefit, we can all grow together. All right, let me get through these lessons. Like I said, I wrote them down because I didn't just want to be high and subjective about it. I wanted to give you some real things to think about and to take away. So let's talk about this. We've heard that phrase before, right? We're either growing or we're dying. We either evolve or we repeat. And repeat is really dying at the end of the day, especially right now. I can't tell you the number of conversations I've had with people where they're telling me that they're doing the same thing they've always done and hunkering down. But that's not going to get us further. That's not going to get us anywhere in today's climate, in today's world. So we got to think about how do we evolve and grow. Here's the thing about Mother Nature. Here's one of the lessons I want to pull out. When we think about we're either growing or we're dying. We always think about the growth stage as positive, fun. Things are always going really well. We're shooting forward. Yes, that's true. But what's also true is sometimes that growth stage isn't easy and it isn't obvious. If we look at Mother Nature, half the time the seed is underground in the dark, right? The seed is pushing through the soil. The branches are extending past the obstacle that's in its way. I was just noticing as I was writing this down that if I look out my window, there's a tree right by some power lines. I live in an urban neighborhood, and that tree has had to figure out how to get around those wires to get to what it needs. So I want us to remember that not all growing is easy or obvious. Sometimes it's in the dark and sometimes it's painful, but we're doing it. So the question I want you to think about in this lesson about we're either growing or we're dying is, are you really positioned towards the sun? Are you really positioned towards growth? It is so important to remember that at every turn, those are the two phases that we're in. And that Mother Nature shows us that time and time again. And business is like that as well, right? And it's not always easy. All right, lesson number 2 about this kind of growing or dying. And this one I'm actually going to dig into and turn into an exercise that we can do on Wednesday. So rejoin me for that one. If you look at Mother Nature, when trees, plants, whatever it is, are in that high growth stage, when they're blossoming and blooming, what do? Do they just stop? Do they just start dying? No. Instead, they start spreading their seeds. Bees come and take their pollen. They find new ways to expand and grow because they know that one flower, that one tree isn't going to live forever. Now, let me relate this to business because to me, this is one of the most relevant points that we can talk about today and why I'm doing a whole session on how to, what I'm calling jump the curve on Wednesday. If you think about life cycles of business, here's what happens, right? We're growing, that cycle goes up, and then we often hit a cliff, and that's when things start to go bad. And we've got all the examples out there, Netflix versus Blockbuster, Uber versus taxis, right? The list goes on. But here's why, because we haven't learned our lesson from Mother Nature yet. Because what Mother Nature shows us is that when we get to the top of that life cycle in our business and our curve, instead of just thinking about how to repeat it and sustain it, because that doesn't happen, right? Change is happening. Things come at us. New competitors come around. When we get to the top of that curve, we need to figure out how to jump that curve, how to set our seeds in new locations and in new places, how to come up with alternative ways to grow and thrive. If you think about the most successful businesses out there, the ones that have sustained over time, I promise you that they have learned this lesson, that at the high growth stage, at the stage of success, when you're blossoming, that is the time to think about where else you can go when you're out there. Remember, spread your seeds, new sprouts. For us, this is, how do we think about our products and services differently? How do we capture new markets? How do we think about new positioning for our work? When you get to the top of that curve, you got to think about how to jump, how to leap. Like I said, we're going to actually dig into that specifically and an exercise around that on Wednesday. All right, here's the third one. And this is the ruthless one that we all know to be true. Mother Nature is about survival of the fittest. You either adapt or you go away. Mother Nature is brilliant at showing us how she evolves and adapts things. I mean, we have 5 fingers for a reason, even the pinky, right? Octopus can camouflage themselves in incredible ways. Like, those things are about survival of the fittest. Mother Nature is ruthless. Business is ruthless. That's okay. But I would take that lesson from Mother Nature about, hey, the fittest adapt. That's how they survive. None of the trees, none of us humans, none of us came out in this perfect form, right? If you looked at our life cycle of species, all of us have adapted and changed and evolved over time, not just us personally, but as a species. Well, your business, how you work, has to do the same thing. We all need to adjust and adapt. Survival of the fittest. All right, the next one might be one of my favorites because we recently went through this exercise. Mother Nature has very low wastage. Everything is used and everything has a purpose. And because of that, everything helps you keep growing and moving forward and figuring out where to plant your seeds next and to build the ecosystem. I think oftentimes in business, we tend to get a little bit bloated, right? We have waste. We have not excess resources. I'm not saying we all have money, but we have things that the way we do things, our processes, products and services that are just excess, they're waste. Well, Mother Nature gets rid of waste, does not use it. Everything is used. Everything has a purpose. So on this one, my question to you is, where in your work and where in your business do you have waste that you can either get rid of or repurpose? It might be wasteful because it's not being used correctly for the times that we are in. It may have been used correctly even 2 months ago, but for the times that we are in, right? Nothing needs to go to waste. So how do you repurpose what you're doing to match better? I will pull back the curtain and tell you that our podcast is one of those things for us that was thriving. We've seen obviously a dip because people are home and doing more of this and less of podcast listening. But lately we had to really think about, how do we repurpose the podcast in a way that speaks to people more given the time we're in? And we actually adjusted it where we are actually having other thought leaders come on and interviewing me as well as me interviewing them, so that we can really dig into the book. We can dig into how to innovate during times of crisis, right? So instead of just finding people who have good innovation content, we're pulling it back because we know that the content that we have is valuable right now. But we had to repurpose it. Otherwise, we were running the risk of having some serious waste in our business. Same with other products and services. I actually just slashed an entire product line that's not relevant right now. But you know what? Getting rid of that waste allowed me to dial up some purpose and some product in another area. So low wastage. I think this is a really important exercise to do with your teams of, where do we have waste? And again, you don't get rid of everything. Where do we either get rid of it or where do we repurpose it? Okay, the last one is, and this one is also critically important for where we are today. Every part of the Mother Nature life cycle, in the growing and the dying, has not only a purpose, but more importantly, has opportunity. Have you ever seen a fire ravaged area afterwards? All the trees are burnt down. There's no animals, right? There's no growth, except for something called a fireweed, which is this beautiful plant that thrives right after fires. Now, I'm not saying I want fires to happen, particularly when they're human. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I want you to understand the power in the opportunity, and that it's everywhere, and that the fireweed thrives not when the ecosystem is blossoming. It doesn't thrive when everything is normal. It thrives right after the fire, where it's time to reinvent and grow and change. Suddenly you'll see fireweed everywhere, and they are the most beautiful, vibrant colors of orange and red. And I bring them up because I think right now a lot of us are going, well, where's the opportunity in all this? What do we do? Like, things aren't the same. I want you to think like a fireweed. Where can you be the fireweed? Every part of the cycle has opportunity, but here's the thing. The opportunities look different at different parts of the cycle. So if you're on the like high trajectory of the hockey stick, your opportunity is about growth and scale, right? It's about going bigger with what you got. When you're at the top, the opportunity is, like we talked about in the beginning, is finding new places to put your seeds, new places to sprout, new opportunities that kind of take you differently, because this top isn't always going to last. But when we're over here at this rebirth area, like Mother Nature knows, there's a whole nother opportunity. The fireweed has proven it to us. All right, that 10 minutes went super fast. Thank you all so much for attending. Michael just wrote, Woody Allen in the movie Annie Hall, a shark has to keep moving forward to survive. Yes, right? Oh, Michael, that was fantastic. Thank you. The joke was, what we have here is a dead shark. Right. So, Michael, I'm glad you said that. I kind of forgotten about that movie. What a great example. Yes, right? We need to keep moving forward to survive. And we just have to understand, like Mother Nature does, right, that we're either growing or we're dying, but we always have the opportunity to grow. We always have the opportunity to adapt. We always have the opportunity to move forward, but the choice is ours to make. All right. Thank you so much for being here. This is why I wanted to start this Monday with this. Please tell me if this was valuable to you. I wanted to give us a different mindset moving forward before we started digging into the exercises. And as I said on Monday, we're going to leap into how to think about jumping the curve when we get to the top. Because I think it's important for all of us. And I'm going to pepper in, now that we've had this conversation, a little bit about how to find those opportunities after the fires, because that's really where we're actually in the throes of the fires still. Okay. Paul, oh, thank you so much. Looking forward to the next session. I'm moving on to the next curve. Exactly. We all have to do it. That's a reality we're in. We happen to be experts in it. So I want to share that with you. All right, everybody. Cheryl, you're welcome. Donna, you're welcome. Thank you so much all for being here. We are, like I said, we continue to grow and grow. So please, these are free. Share this with your colleagues and with your friends. The more we can impact, the better. The more people around you, by the way, who have this common knowledge and common perspective on innovation and tools that we give out here, the easier it is for you to do your job too, right? We're all in tribes together. And the beauty of a tribe is there's incredible diversity in thinking. And when we have a common language and a common understanding, we're even more able to move forward together. And I will just tell you quickly, I just did we call them V sessions. It's basically using innovation to tackle real world challenges with your virtual team. So it's like an online workshop where we come together, and we just tackled this whole jumping the curve for them to understand how to leverage themselves moving forward, because how they did business is not going to exist anytime soon in the near future. And it was amazing what we came up with in 60 minutes. So I'm looking forward to jumping the curve, or at least getting that conversation started with you on Wednesday. All right. Thank you all so much. So appreciate the feedback. I'll see you Wednesday.